What if I told you that Zambia's political drama has taken a turn no one saw coming? Allegations of witchcraft, whispers of secret societies, and the fierce rivalry between President Hakainde Hichilema, Edgar Lungu, and Esther Lungu are now shaking the nation. Tonight, we go beyond the headlines to uncover the truth. Was this a political smear, a cultural misunderstanding, or something far darker hidden within Zambia's corridors of power? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear could change how you see African politics forever. Zambia's political arena is once again on fire. President Hakainde Hichilema, HH, has publicly denied allegations of witchcraft and being part of a secret society, but the controversy refuses to fade. In this video, InspirAfrica official breaks down what these witchcraft and secret society allegations really mean for HH, why Edgar Lungu's legacy and Esther Lungu's influence remain at the center of Zambia's politics, how Zambia's political chessboard could shape Africa's future, the global impact from Lusaka to Washington, London, and beyond. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exclusive African political analysis. Breaking the silence, HH's denial, context, and background. Hakainde Hichilema, Zambia's president since August 2021, has faced various allegations throughout his political career, some rooted in the country's cultural and political fabric. The phrase, HH's denial, likely refers to his response to accusations leveled against him, particularly those involving witchcraft or political misconduct, which have surfaced in Zambia's polarized political landscape. These accusations often stem from historical rivalries, notably with his predecessor, Edgar Lungu, and are amplified by Zambia's deep-rooted belief in supernatural forces, as evidenced by a 2018 Zambia Law Development Commission study finding that 79% of Zambians believe in witchcraft. Hichilema's public stance. Hichilema has consistently positioned himself as a rational, science-oriented leader, urging Zambians to move away from superstitious beliefs. In a 2025 statement, he called on Africans to abandon witchcraft beliefs and embrace science, reflecting his broader agenda to modernize Zambia's socio-political landscape. This stance is significant in a country where traditional beliefs coexist with Christianity, often shaping public perceptions of political figures. For instance, during his time as an opposition leader, Hichilema faced accusations of using witchcraft from then-President Michael Sata, who claimed his own region's magic was superior. Hichilema has not directly commented on recent witchcraft trials or specific allegations tied to him, such as the February 2025 case where two men were charged with using charms to harm him, allegedly hired by a brother of former lawmaker Emmanuel Banda. His silence on this case has fueled speculation, with some dismissing it as a political stunt ahead of the 2026 elections. Political motivations behind the denial. Hichilema's reticence can be interpreted as a strategic choice to avoid legitimizing accusations that could undermine his credibility or inflame cultural tensions. By not engaging directly, he sidesteps a narrative that could portray him as embroiled in Zambia's supernatural discourse, which contrasts with his image as a technocrat focused on economic reforms and foreign investment. However, this silence has drawn criticism from opponents who view it as evasive, particularly in light of his administration's legal actions against political rivals, including the Lungu family, which some allege are politically motivated. Critical analysis. Hichilema's denial or avoidance of witchcraft-related accusations aligns with his broader governance style, which emphasizes legal and institutional frameworks over populist or culturally charged rhetoric. However, in a society where witchcraft is a serious public concern, this approach risks alienating segments of the population who perceive such issues as real threats. The tension between modernity and tradition underscores a broader challenge for Hichilema, balancing Zambia's cultural heritage with his vision for progress. His administration's actions, such as the dismissal of judges who ruled in favor of Lungu in 2016 and 2021, suggest a pattern of consolidating power, which critics like Lungu's lawyer Makibi Zulu label as executive overreach. This context frames Hichilema's denials as part of a calculated effort to maintain control over Zambia's political narrative. Witchcraft allegations. Where did they come from? Historical and cultural roots. Witchcraft allegations in Zambia are deeply tied to the country's cultural and spiritual landscape. Traditional Zambian societies view the human world as interconnected with the supernatural, a belief that persists alongside Christianity, the nation's official religion. The 1914 Witchcraft Act, a colonial-era law, criminalizes practices perceived as witchcraft, defining it as pretending to exercise any kind of supernatural power to cause fear, annoyance, or injury. This law, criticized by scholars like Gankanani Moyo for misunderstanding African traditions, remains a contentious tool in modern Zambia, often exploited in political disputes. Recent witchcraft case. In February 2025, a high-profile trial captured national attention when two men were charged with practicing witchcraft to harm President Hichilema. Police reported that the men, arrested in a Lusaka hotel room, possessed items like a bottled chameleon, a red cloth, and an unidentified animal's tail, allegedly intended for a curse commissioned by Emmanuel Banda's brother, a fugitive former lawmaker. One suspect confessed to being promised over $1 million for the act, though skepticism surrounds the case, with some viewing it as a political maneuver by Hichilema's administration to discredit opponents before the 2026 elections. The trial's prominence Conference, initially set for live broadcast but later restricted due to objections from the Council of Churches, highlights the public's fascination with witchcraft and its political implications. Political weaponization. Witchcraft allegations have long been a tool in Zambian politics. During his opposition years, Hichilema was accused by Michael Sata of using witchcraft, a charge that reflects how politicians leverage cultural beliefs to undermine rivals. Similarly, the 2025 case targeting Hichilema may be an attempt by opposition figures to exploit these beliefs, portraying him as vulnerable to supernatural threats or complicit in political theater. The involvement of Emmanuel Banda's brother suggests a connection to broader opposition efforts to challenge Hichilema's rule, especially given Banda's status as a fugitive. Social and legal challenges. Prosecuting witchcraft cases is notoriously difficult due to the intangible nature of the evidence. Most cases are handled in traditional courts, but the 2025 trial's escalation to a Lusaka magistrate's court underscores its political weight. Critics argue that the Witchcraft Act's vagueness allows for abuse, enabling authorities to target political adversaries under the guise of supernatural threats. Meanwhile, traditional healers like Rodwell Vongo, president of the Zambian Traditional Healers Association, defend their practices, rejecting the derogatory label of witch doctor and highlighting the commercial demand for protection against witchcraft. Critical analysis. The origins of witchcraft allegations in Zambia's political sphere lie in a complex interplay of cultural beliefs, colonial legacies, and electoral strategies. While genuine belief in the supernatural drives some accusations, others are clearly politically motivated, exploiting Zambia's cultural sensitivities to sway public opinion. The 2025 trial against Hichilema exemplifies this dynamic, raising questions about whether such cases are genuine threats or distractions engineered to polarize voters. The persistence of the Witchcraft Act, despite calls for reform, underscores the challenge of reconciling traditional beliefs with modern governance. Secret society claims in Zambia's power circles. Speculation and context. Claims of secret societies influencing Zambia's political elite are less documented but emerge from a broader African context where secret organizations, often tied to traditional or esoteric practices, are rumored to wield power. In Zambia, such claims are speculative and often conflated with witchcraft allegations or elite networks that operate discreetly. The lack of concrete evidence in the provided sources suggests that these claims may be rooted in rumor, political propaganda, or cultural mistrust rather than verifiable structures. Cultural and historical basis. Zambia's belief in the supernatural, as noted earlier, fosters suspicion of hidden forces behind political success. Secret societies, in the African context, are sometimes associated with traditional brotherhoods or modern fraternal organizations, but in Zambia, they are more likely to be imagined as clandestine groups using spiritual or occult means to gain power. The 2025 witchcraft trial, with its allegations of a curse against Hichilema, feeds into narratives of shadowy actors manipulating political outcomes, though no explicit mention of secret societies appears in the sources. Political implications. Accusations of secret society involvement often serve to discredit opponents by suggesting they engage in untransparent or morally suspect activities. For instance, the Lungu family's legal battles and Hichilema's judicial reforms have been framed by critics as evidence of hidden agendas or power consolidation. Makibi Zulu, Lungu's lawyer, has accused Hichilema of executive overreach, implying a concerted effort to control institutions, which could fuel speculation about secretive networks. However, these claims lack substantiation and may reflect Zambia's polarized political discourse rather than actual organizations. Critical analysis. Without concrete evidence, secret society claims in Zambia's power circles appear to be a blend of cultural suspicion and political rhetoric. The absence of specific references in credible sources suggests that these narratives are speculative, possibly amplified by social media or opposition campaigns to undermine Hichilema's legitimacy. While Zambia's history of political intrigue, such as Lungu's alleged attempts to extend his presidency through constitutional loopholes, lends credence to suspicions of covert maneuvering, no clear link to secret societies exists. These claims may distract from substantive issues like economic challenges or judicial independence, serving as a tool to inflame public mistrust. Edgar Lungu's legacy and Esther's silent influence. Edgar Lungu's political legacy. Edgar Lungu, Zambia's sixth president 2015 to 2021, left a complex legacy shaped by economic struggles, democratic backsliding, and personal controversies. Rising to power after Michael Sata's death in 2014, Lungu won a narrow victory in the 2015 by-election and a full term in 2016, both against Hichilema. His presidency was marked by economic challenges, including high debt levels and corruption allegations, which fueled public discontent. Lungu's attempts to run for a third term, despite constitutional limits, led to a 2023 constitutional court ruling barring him, cementing his exit from electoral politics. Lungu's governance style leaned on populist measures and political patronage, but his administration faced criticism for restricting dissent, harassing journalists, and politicizing the judiciary. His detention of Hichilema in 2017 for treason, following a motorcade incident, deepened their rivalry and became a focal point of post-presidency tensions. After losing the 2021 election, Lungu briefly retired but re-entered politics, leading to further clashes with Hichilema's government, including restrictions on his movements and public activities. His death in June 2025 in South Africa, following cardiac complications during surgery, sparked a national debate over his funeral arrangements, reflecting his enduring influence. Esther Lungu's role. Esther Lungu, the former First Lady, has been described as a silent influence due to her low public profile but significant presence in legal and political controversies. She and her daughter Tassila face corruption charges, which they deny, and have been central to the dispute over Lungu's burial. Esther's insistence on honoring Lungu's dying wish that Hichilema not attend his funeral has fueled a standoff with the government, which seeks a state funeral at Embassy Park. Her role in mobilizing the Lungu family and the Patriotic Front (PF) to resist government control over the funeral underscores her influence, though it remains behind the scenes compared to Lungu's overt political presence. Funeral dispute and legacy. The controversy over Lungu's burial, still unresolved as of August 2025, highlights the intersection of his legacy and Esther's influence. The Lungu family, backed by PF supporters, argues that Hichilema's involvement would disrespect Lungu's wishes, given their history of animosity. The government, however, insists on a state funeral to uphold national protocol, a stance critics like Makibi Zulu call a public relations stunt. This dispute has deepened political divisions, with some accusing the government of seeking to control Lungu's body for occult reasons, a claim rooted in Zambia's witchcraft beliefs. Esther's steadfast position, supported by legal appeals in South Africa, reflects her commitment to preserving Lungu's dignity, aligning with the family's narrative of persecution under Hichilema. Critical analysis. Lungu's legacy is a polarizing mix of populist leadership and authoritarian tendencies, with his death amplifying existing tensions. His contributions, such as infrastructure development, are overshadowed by economic mismanagement and democratic erosion, which Hichilema's administration has sought to address. Esther's influence, while less public, is pivotal in maintaining the Lungu family's resistance to Hichilema's control, positioning her as a quiet but resolute figure in Zambia's political drama. The funeral saga underscores how personal rivalries and cultural beliefs continue to shape Zambia's political narrative, with Esther's role amplifying the family's defiance. Zambia's political chessboard. What's next for HH? Current political landscape. Hichilema's presidency, now in its fourth year, faces mounting challenges as the 2026 elections approach. His administration has prioritized economic recovery, attracting over $3 billion in foreign direct investment, particularly from Chinese enterprises, and approving maize exports to address surplus. However, public frustration over rising living costs and perceived authoritarianism, evidenced by the blocking of 29 Socialist Party rallies and the arrest of opposition figures, threatens his re-election prospects. The dismissal of 3 constitutional court judges in 2024, who previously ruled in Lungu's favor, has drawn accusations of judicial interference, further polarizing the electorate. Hichilema's strategy. Hichilema's focus on economic reforms, such as empowering small and medium enterprises and promoting mining investment, aims to bolster Zambia's global standing. His engagement with traditional leaders to open land for development and his push for the tobacco control bill reflect a proactive governance style. However, his handling of opposition dissent, including restrictions on Lungu's movements and arrests of journalists, suggests a shift toward authoritarian tactics, undermining his 2021 campaign promises of democratic renewal. The witchcraft trial and funeral dispute with the Lungu family further complicate his image, as opponents exploit cultural narratives to portray him as out of touch or manipulative. Opposition dynamics. The opposition, led by figures like Akeem Antonin Jobvu of the Democratic Union, is rallying for unity to challenge Hichilema in 2026. Jobvu's pledges of jobs and a peaceful transition signal a strategy to capitalize on public discontent over economic turmoil. The Patriotic Front, despite internal factionalism, remains a potent force, with leaders like Raphael Nakasinda emphasizing trust over populism. The Lungu family's ongoing legal battles and the funeral controversy could galvanize PF supporters, framing Hichilema as disrespectful to a former president's legacy. Critical analysis. Hichilema's path to re-election hinges on balancing economic progress with political inclusivity. His administration's achievements in investment and infrastructure are notable, but the perception of authoritarianism risks alienating voters. The witchcraft allegations and funeral dispute are potential flashpoints that could erode his support among traditionalists, while opposition unity poses a credible threat. Hichilema must navigate these challenges carefully, addressing cultural sensitivities without compromising his modernizing agenda to secure his position on Zambia's political chessboard. Africa's global stage. Why the world is watching. Zambia's strategic importance. Zambia's political developments are under global scrutiny due to its role as a stable democracy and a key player in Africa's copper industry. As one of Africa's more competitive democracies, democracies, Zambia's 2021 election, which saw a peaceful transfer of power from Lungu to Hichilema, was hailed as a model for the continent. Its copper reserves, critical for global energy transitions, attract significant foreign investment, particularly from China, which has contributed over $3 billion in FDI. The commissioning of the S3 plant at Kansanshi mine in 2025, praised by UNDP Representative James Wakiaga, underscores Zambia's economic ambition. Geopolitical interests. The world watches Zambia due to its strategic position in the China-West rivalry. Hichilema's government has welcomed Chinese investment, but faced criticism for environmental and labor issues linked to Chinese mining operations. His call to address mine pollution without geopolitics reflects an attempt to balance relations with Beijing and Western partners. Additionally, Zambia's lead contamination crisis in Kabwe, affecting 200,000 people, has drawn international attention, with the World Bank supporting remediation efforts. Democratic implications. Zambia's political stability is a bellwether for African democracy. Hichilema's perceived backsliding through judicial interference and opposition crackdowns raises concerns among international observers, including Human Rights Watch, about the erosion of civil liberties. The funeral dispute and witchcraft trial, while domestic issues, highlight cultural and political tensions that could destabilize Zambia's democratic image, drawing parallels to other African nations grappling with tradition and modernity. Critical analysis. Zambia's global relevance stems from its economic potential and democratic track record, but current tensions risk tarnishing its image. Hichilema's ability to navigate foreign relations, address environmental challenges, and maintain democratic integrity will determine Zambia's standing. The world's interest reflects broader concerns about Africa's role in global supply chains and the sustainability of its democratic experiments, making Zambia a case study in balancing tradition, governance, and international expectations. Final thoughts. Truth or distraction. Evaluating the narrative. The issues of witchcraft, secret societies, and political rivalries in Zambia are a mix of truth and distraction. Witchcraft allegations, rooted in cultural beliefs, are real in their social impact, as seen in the 2025 trial, but their political use often serves as a distraction from pressing issues like economic hardship and judicial independence. Secret society claims, while lacking evidence, amplify mistrust in a polarized society, diverting attention from substantive policy debates. The Lungu-Hichilema feud, culminating in the funeral dispute, reflects genuine personal and political animosities, but risks overshadowing Zambia's broader challenges, such as lead contamination and rising living costs. Hichilema's challenge. For Hichilema, these controversies test his ability to unify a divided nation. His silence on witchcraft allegations and focus on economic reforms suggest an attempt to rise above cultural distractions, but this risks alienating voters who value traditional beliefs. His administration's legal actions against opponents, while framed as anti-corruption, fuel perceptions of vendettas, complicating his democratic credentials. Lungu's legacy and Esther's role. Lungu's death has not ended his influence, with Esther and the PF leveraging his legacy to challenge Hichilema. The funeral dispute, while rooted in genuine family grievances, serves as a political tool to rally opposition support, distracting from governance issues. Esther's quiet resolve strengthens the narrative of persecution, keeping Lungu's memory alive in the opposition's strategy. Critical analysis. The interplay of witchcraft, secret society rumors, and political rivalries is both a reflection of Zambia's cultural reality and a distraction from systemic challenges. While these issues captivate public attention, they obscure the need for dialogue on economic reform, environmental justice, and democratic accountability. Hichilema must address cultural sensitivities while maintaining a focus on governance to prevent these controversies from derailing his presidency. The truth lies in Zambia's complex socio-political fabric, but the distractions risk deepening divisions unless addressed with transparency and inclusivity.